Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Premier League football is back. It kicks off today. We've got Arsenal, I think, against Crystal Palace. Interesting. Patrick Vieira versus Arsenal. Palace are going to win 2-1, in my opinion. But in today's video, this is a once a year thing. Although I kind of did an early predictions video, so I guess it's twice this year, and then we react to it at the end of the year. But it's my Premier League predictions, of course. And we're going to go straight in to this one because it's a long video. It's kind of monotonous in the way that you guys know that we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to work our way all the way to the top. We're going to talk a lot about Chelsea. We're going to, this is going to be interesting, to be honest. But we begin, first of all, with Fulham. I'd say the best signing that Fulham have made is Leno. I think Leno's a decent goalkeeper. I think he's a good, solid Premier League level goalkeeper. Maybe a bit too good for Fulham. With all the promoted clubs, it is kind of easy sometimes to just say, well, we don't actually know what's going to happen, but we might as well just stick the three who get promoted into the bottom three. That's not what I've done. There's actually two of them in the relegation zone. But with Fulham, I just think the way they play, it's very expansive. They like to use the whole width of the pitch. And I just wonder, in the Premier League, if they're going to get away with that. In the Championship, you kind of got to go for the jugular a little bit because it's such a competitive league. Anybody can beat anyone. And I think Fulham have enough quality, Mitrovic as well, as a striker, absolutely destroyed in the Championship last season. If Fulham are going to stay up, Mitrovic needs to be able, he's not going to score 40 plus goals in the Premier League. That's never going to happen. Mitrovic needs to have a big season. If he can get 15 goals, that's a lot for a team that will probably be fighting for their lives at the bottom. If Mitrovic is firing, and Leno is as good of a signing as I think it could be, they might survive, but I've got them in 20th place, unfortunately, moving into Southampton in 19th. That might be a surprise to some of you. I've watched a lot of Premier League predictions videos, and Southampton are one where people have either got them bang mid-table or going down. I think with Southampton, they seem to have these phases where they go through and get some good results, then all of a sudden there's a capitulation. When I saw Chelsea beat them 6-0, last season, I'm like, this doesn't look like a Premier League team. They're not consistent enough. They've got a young squad. And I just think this year, it's going to be a very competitive season. It's going to be super competitive near the top. And when we look at some of the players they've brought in, they've got Mara, who's the new striker. I'm looking at the graphic here. You guys can obviously see it on the screen permanently, but I'm looking here to my left. Mara could be a decent player, but again, do they have enough depth in the attacking areas? I don't think they do. I think it's their time to go down. Moving into 18th position. I chopped and changed this so many times in my head. I'm like, Bournemouth? Are they going to go down? Are we going to see Brentford suffer from second season syndrome? I put Nottingham Forest in the bottom three. They've made some really, really good signings. I think Henderson, as a goalkeeper, is a great signing. I'm also thinking right now that I might just change this, and put Bournemouth 18th. But I'm going to stick with what I've got here. I was thinking about this one long and hard, especially near the bottom of the table. It's so difficult to predict. Jesse Lingard coming in is also a very, very good signing. I think that if Nottingham Forest can make their home ground a fortress, then they'll stay up. When I say a fortress, I'm not saying they're going to go the entire season at home without losing a single game. But the atmosphere for Nottingham Forest, they're a massive, massive club. Incredible history. They're back in the big time. It probably will be enough to keep them up. And now that I've made this video, I'm kind of changing my mind again. But I've got Bournemouth in 17th. I just think they've been here before. They stayed in the Premier League for a while before. They've got experience. But again, shoestring squad. Nottingham Forest at this point have definitely done much better business than Bournemouth. But I do think that Premier League know-how is going to be enough to save Bournemouth this season. When you look at this bottom four now, I do think at least three of them will definitely be around that area. But I think Nottingham Forest, now that I'm actually recording this and I'm looking at the table, I think Forest will probably end up staying up. Let me know your thoughts, obviously, in the comments down below. Let me know your predictions, 1 to 20, in the comments down below. Moving into 16th place, Wolves. There is a few issues off the field at Wolves. Raul Jimenez, not really been the same striker since that injury, that horrible injury, I think it was against Arsenal. I just look at the Wolves squad and I think, is there enough there? Is there enough fight? Because they were so close last season at a point to even finishing in the European places. And I just wonder if any of the signings they've made are really enough to help them sustain that kind of level that we saw for 2/3 of the season. The final third of the season, Wolves kind of fell away. And I think this year they might struggle again. I think they'll definitely have enough quality to stay in the Premier League, but I've got them in 16th. Moving into 15th place, Brighton. Now, I like Brighton. Last season, I got Brighton incredibly wrong. They're a difficult team to predict because they've got the ability, with such a great manager in Graham Potter, they play good, expansive football. And I think the loss of Cucurella and Yves Bissouma is going to hurt them. I look at the attack. I don't know if there's enough goals in there. I don't think Neil Maupay is a striker that's going to get you, 10 plus 15-ish goals on a consistent basis year by year. I think those two losses are going to hurt Brighton. I still think there's enough quality there. I think the manager's good enough to be able to stay in the Premier League. But we move into 14th, Everton. I think Frank Lampard will do well with this current squad. If Everton make a few signings, it could be a bit better. I don't think they can get out of the bottom half because I don't think there's enough quality in there. Can he get the best out of Dele Alli? Will we ever see Dele Alli at his scintillating best as he was at times for Spurs? Not really a massive fan of Dele Alli because of that Spurs relationship, because of the way sometimes he would be against Chelsea. But I want Lampard to succeed. Maybe there is a lot of bias in what I say here because of Frank Lampard. He's my favourite ever footballer. Absolutely love the bloke. I don't think Everton will go down. I think the concern for Everton is that I think everybody around the club knows there's issues off the field. There is a massive rebuild that needs to be done within the club. And I think potentially the fear that they have of being relegated could end up putting them in a sticky position. I think Lampard has got a very tough job. And I think at this point, if he manages to get them into 14th, I don't think it will be bad whatsoever. We move into 13th position. Crystal Palace. I always put Palace around, I think usually I'll put them in 12th. And I think Patrick Vieira did very well last year. I thought Palace were going to struggle. I think when you look at Elise, you look at Eze, you still got Wilfried Zaha there as well. It doesn't look like he's going anywhere. He's probably going to finish his bloody career at Crystal Palace. Should he be playing at a higher level? It's a question for you Palace fans in the comments below. I think that every team that we've got from now up until about 9th, there could be so much chopping and changing with this. And I think if they can build Crystal Palace on what they had last season, then maybe they might get themselves a top half finish. But as I said, I always stick them around this area in the table. I think there will be patches of good form. Will they miss Conor Gallagher? I think they probably will. It was such a big part of the way they played last season. Palace in 13th, moving into Leeds United. Now, with Leeds, it's an interesting one because, yes, they've lost Rafinha. Yes, they've lost Calvin Phillips, two of their best players, if not their two best players. Patrick Bamford, Gelhardt up front, good strikers if they can score goals. With the new signings they've also got coming in and Jesse Marsch's style of football, it's very much going to either hit or miss this season for Leeds. And when we look at some of the players they've brought in, Brendan Aronson, I think is a quality signing. Seen a couple of good moments from him during pre-season, watching a few highlight videos. I think that's very smart business. They've also brought in Mark Rocker from Bayern Munich. That's an interesting one. We'll see how he performs. I think it's going to work. And I think Leeds United to finish 12th, I think they can be happy with that this season. It was so close last year. They stayed up on the final day. This season, I think they'll be fine. 11th, Brentford. I really like Brentford. They're going to miss Christian Eriksen. There's talks at the moment that they might bring in Damsgaard. He's that quality player for Denmark who scored against us in the European semi-final. Issues with Damsgaard is he's often injured. I think he has arthritis problems, which is not ideal when you're a professional footballer. I think the business they've done is smart. I think what made them so successful last season and what made them surprise so many people was just how pragmatic they were. When teams come into the Premier League, you see them struggle because they try and play in a similar way to what they did in the Championship, where there are goals to be had. There's 46 matches in the season. The Premier League is so many levels above. And I think that Brentford are the prime example of how all of the teams who came up last season and will be in the Premier League this year, I think Brentford is the mould. I think you've got to try and do what Thomas Frank has done. And I think as long as they keep with smart business, which it looks like they're doing at the moment, they're going to miss Eriksen. But I think Brentford will almost get a top half finish. We move into 10th, Aston Villa. Aston Villa signing Boubacar Kamara, I think, is absolutely phenomenal business. I don't know how he's gone to Aston Villa and it's gone under the noses of some of the top teams in Europe. Kamara is a quality player. Coutinho's obviously there as well. I think the midfield for Aston Villa is looking very interesting. And I think Steven Gerrard is going to build on what he had last season. I think a 10th place finish for Villa would be good. I think there is potential that they might even finish higher. And if we look at 9th, I've gone for Leicester. The thing with Leicester is it seems very stagnant under Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers has taken Leicester as far as he could have done, missing out on the top 4 the way they did so consistently the past couple of years. Last season they fell away. But the seasons before, I think Brendan Rodgers has done all he can. And I do not think that Brendan Rodgers will be Leicester manager at the beginning of next season. When you look at the business too, they've not signed anybody. There are still talks that Yuri Tielemans might leave. Chelsea want Wesley Fofana. James Maddison, wanted by Newcastle. If they lose these players, or even one of them, I think they're going to really, really struggle. And I think Leicester City, if they manage to finish top half, I think they've got to be happy with that, with the way things are looking at the moment. We move into 8th place, Newcastle United. There are a lot of people at the moment confused about Newcastle, saying, why aren't they just buying everybody? They're the richest club in the Premier League. They've got so much money. I think the way that Newcastle is operating right now is very smart. I think Eddie Howe is a very, very good manager. Absolutely revived their season last year. Yes, there was obviously the motivational buzz of the takeover. Now they've brought in Sven Botman. I think Nick Pope is also a brilliant addition as a goalkeeper from relegated Burnley. 8th place, Newcastle fans, if you are watching this, let me know in the comments, is 8th this season when you look at the business you've currently done? Yes, there could still be big signings coming in between now and the end of the window. I think there will be, but with predictions, you've got to release it before the first game. And at the moment, I think the Eddie Howe effect, the buzz around the club is going to be enough, but only enough to get them 8th. Moving into 7th place, West Ham. I was thinking about Man United. I was looking at Ten Hag's business and I'm thinking, is that going to be good enough? West Ham have made some good signings. They've bought Aguerd, I think from Rennes or Lille in France. Very, very decent centre-back. They've also bought Gianluca Scamacca, who probably absolutely butchered that pronunciation, who we talked about in the striker tier list video for potential Chelsea signings. If he can hit the ground running, I'm not sure if it's going to be him over Antonio, or will they both play together? I think it's an interesting time for West Ham. Super competitive, near the top of the table. All of the other teams above them have also strengthened highly, and the European Conference League campaign as well means that I don't know if West Ham will be able to build upon what we saw last season, but finishing 7th with Newcastle with the money they've got now, Aston Villa looking good too, Leicester, they've always been around that area. If West Ham can finish ahead of the rest of the pack there, I think they'll be okay. We move into 6th place, Manchester United. Erik ten Hag has got a very difficult job. They've brought in Malacia in the midfield. They've also signed Christian Eriksen, that I think is absolutely brilliant business, and Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, a player that obviously Erik ten Hag knows very well. Is that enough? I don't think it is. If you look at Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea now, then you've got Liverpool and City in their own little league. Or so we think. It's Premier League predictions. We don't know what we've got yet. But I just don't think Man United have done anywhere near enough. I think they're still not going to have enough to finish top 4. Erik ten Hag has got them playing some good football during pre-season. They've looked good. There is a positive buzz. Can they get the best out of Marcus Rashford? Will Anthony Martial show anything close to the kind of form that got every Man United fan excited a couple of years ago? I don't think it's going to be enough though. We move into 5th. This is so difficult this season because so many teams have strengthened. Chelsea, they worry me, but it looks as though it's getting really good now with transfer business. So, with that being said, I've put Arsenal in 5th. Gabriel Jesus is a massive signing. I think he's going to score so many goals. I think Zinchenko is also incredibly smart business. If Kieran Tierney is fit, then Zinchenko can also play in the middle of the midfield, which we've seen him do for Ukraine before. So I think it's a very smart piece of business from Arsenal. And I think that last season, missing out on the Champions League, which then puts them in Europa League this year, I think that is the reason why Arsenal may miss out. And I think it's simply, I think they're going to be very, very strong. I think it's going to be so close in the top 5. But I think playing Europa League is going to make Arsenal struggle. And I think it's going to see them in 5th. Moving into 4th, Chelsea. I don't think I've ever or would ever have predicted Tottenham to finish ahead of Chelsea in my life until now. I think the business we've done is excellent, but at this moment in time, I think not signing the striker could be what is the difference maker between Chelsea finishing below the rest. I think we're going to have enough. Thomas Tuchel is a wonderful manager. Raheem Sterling, Koulibaly, world-class signings that immediately elevate our club. But I just think Spurs' business has been so good. And Antonio Conte, brilliant manager. We know just how good he is. Harry Kane staying, Heung-min Son staying. Got Tottenham in third. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, this season. With Tottenham's strength, Arsenal's strength, Chelsea again strengthening, but Liverpool and City, Darwin Núñez, Erling Haaland. I just think those two, shouldn't show my fingers like that. I think those two are just too good for me to even consider Chelsea, Tottenham, breaking that little duo they've got at the top of the league. I think they're strengthening as well. It's going to be so competitive. But Antonio Conte and Spurs, I'm going to say it now. I'm worried about this. I'm seriously worried about Tottenham. Yves Bissouma is also a brilliant signing. You've got Perisic there, an Antonio Conte-esque player. He loves to have those wing-backs running down the wing. He made bloody Marcus Alonso and Victor Moses Premier League champion. I'm worried about Spurs. But my winner for the Premier League this season, only because they missed out so close last year, I think the hunger of Liverpool is going to take them over the line this season. I think Darwin Núñez is going to score 20 plus goals. I think Erling Haaland is also going to score 20 plus goals. But I think Liverpool are going to do what City did to them last year. I think Liverpool win the Premier League this season by a single point. I think it is going to be so close. It's going to be so competitive. Arguably, the most exciting Premier League season ever. When we look at it on paper, we've got new big names. We've got players swapping from rivals, City to Chelsea, Sterling to Chelsea. It's going to be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Klopp, Guardiola, Tuchel, Conte, then Mikel Arteta. But yeah, those are my Premier League predictions. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Do you think I'm absolutely outrageous with what we've got on the screen right now? Please let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to GBFC if you're new around here and haven't already done so. Come on, you Blues.